What we describe 2023, 2024 is a tumultuous past and an uncertain future. And I'll start with 3 quotes. One is that it's better to travel hopefully than to arrive. And 2, only fools rush where angels fear to tread. And 3, a bad decision is better than no decision because you can change it. But having said that, what did the year hold? Nigeria versus the rest of the world, Nigeria versus Africa. If you look at the 3 parameters of growth, inflation and export growth and share of investments 4, in all cases Nigeria was in the red. Nigeria underperformed the rest of the world, underperformed Africa, and also underperformed, the previous year. And so, but the scorecard was pretty simple. We looked at about 8 parameters, in fact 9 parameters. 5 of them were negative and 4 were positive. And I'll take you through it very carefully. The GDP growth actually declined from 3.25 to 2.45. That was a slight dip of about 0.80. Per capita income per head, you can see went down from $2,202 to $1,775, which is 20%. So Nigerians were 20% poorer in 2023. Inflation at the beginning of the year was 21.34. We ended up at about 28.2, and we're going to have inflation numbers next week. We're projecting that it will be about 29%. The exchange rate last year in the parallel market was 740, and today it's closing at about 1,215 naira, a drop of about 70%. That's what Bloomberg was talking about. Oil production increased marginally from 1.2 to 1.34 million barrels. External reserves dropped from 37 to 32, but the external reserves are what we call the gross reserves. If you discount it for encumbrances, actually dropped further. External debt went up from 41.69 to, actually improved to 41.59. Students that passed WAEC, English and Maths, 64% in 2022 and 79% in 2023. The national grid collapsed 12 times in 2022 and collapsed only 3 times in 2024. You already summarized it at the 4 distinct quarters. First quarter was naira scarcity and elections, right? Second quarter was inauguration and celebrations. What did the president say at inauguration? Subsidy is gone, but subsidy was actually reduced. 2, there's convergence of exchange rates and reducing in windows into 1. The consequence of that is the following. The government, money has been transferred from consumers to the government because subsidies are reverse taxes. If you reduce them, you increase the taxes, reduce people's income. What has happened is the government revenue has increased by almost 44% between the month of May and the month of June. In other words, where we were sharing 600, 700 billion naira earlier, we are now sharing about as of this month, we are sharing about 1.9 trillion naira. So money has been transferred to the government. And what is the government doing with it? The consumers, on the other hand, they had the minimum wage, which in dollar terms was about $40 in 2002. In 2019, that was $70. It has now reduced to $24. So what have we done? The government has introduced some palliatives. The way the palliatives have been dimensioned and the way whether it is getting to the people is another issue altogether. Finally, investors and markets, the Nigerian stock market actually gained by 45% against an inflation factor of 30%. So investors are making out very well. And 365-day treasury bills actually increased in value, but the rate is much lower than the rate of inflation. So if you invested in treasury bills, you lost 17% of your money. But what is more important to everybody here is this data is abstract. We must go into the details of what happened. A bag of rice in 2022 was 47,000. As of yesterday, that bag of rice was going for 70,000 naira. So a decline of 48.94%. A bag of beans was 36,000 naira in 2022. It's now up to 42,000 naira, an increase of 16%. A bag of flour for making bread was 34,000 naira at the end of 2022. It's now 46,000 naira, up 35%. A bag of tomatoes, 22,000 naira in 2022, is up by 13% to 25,000 naira. And a loaf of bread, I think called agege bread, was 700. It's now 1,200. So generally speaking, everybody's under pressure.